Hi, it's Friday the 17th of October 2025, and welcome to this week's My Thoughts vlog. Now, as usual, these are just my thoughts and my opinions, unscripted, raw, and all that sort of stuff. And this week I thought I'd kind of do a sort of follow-on from last week, which was the Q&A session. A couple of weeks back, a chap called Richard asked me on Twitter about X.com. A few questions. It's quite a lengthy answer with quite a few issues in it. But the gist of it was, because it got me thinking, it's quite interesting. It's on the lines of the medical records and where do we go from here? Yes, hello, go away. As far as I can see, my application for the medical records, there's kind of four possible outcomes. There's one where they just don't give me them. There's the second, which is they say they can't find them. The third would be that here's Dad's medical records, and it proves that he was not exposed to radiation. Or here's Dad's medical records, and he was exposed to radiation. So what happens in each of those scenarios? What does that make me think? Now, the first scenario of you're not having them, obviously I will fight them all the way. I'll continue fighting. I know there's several of us that are going to do this. The reason we do it is not just for ourselves, but if, like myself and the other few that are doing the medical, really going for the medical records, can actually get hold of them, then that would pave the way for other veterans and families to do the same. So we're kind of going through the process to show that it can be done, and also to highlight to the OVA and the government where the process is failing, because it is failing. It's been 3 years that I've been trying, and I provided every document they've asked for, in some cases several times, and I am still no further on. But if they refuse to play ball and give me the records, then obviously I'll have to see where I stand legally, and take it from there. I'm hoping that I would be able to continue and fight them and fight them and fight them. If they come back and say, we've had a look and we can't find any, then that's negligence, isn't it? Because they're supposed to keep those records. And if that was the case, why didn't you tell me 3 years ago? Why didn't you tell me the first time that I asked? Because all they've done is give me 3 years of stress and trauma trying to get these records, wasted a lot of my time, a lot of their time. And surely that's, there's got to be some comeback for that, hasn't there? And certainly I would be looking to pursue that from a negligence point of view, because they should have kept those records. Thirdly, and this would be the interesting one, I think, that they come back and say, your father was not exposed. Here's the results, and he was fine. My first thing that was springing to mind is, show me, prove it. Because going through the processes that I have been going through with the Ministry of Defence, and knowing what I know from all the other campaign groups within Hillsborough Law, is that they lie. And that's the whole point of Hillsborough Law, is to stop them lying. So if they come back and say my dad was not exposed to radiation, I will not believe it. And there's another reason I won't believe it. Not just because they have a history of lying and covering up, but also because Dad had a skin condition on his arms and legs, and that developed later on in life, as in quite late on. And he was sent to a dermatologist who asked him, have you spent your whole life in the tropics? To which he replied, no, only hot place I've been was Maralinga, South Australia, for 1 year. And she said, that doesn't add up, because you've got a lifetime's worth of sun radiation damage on your skin from living in a tropical hot area. Now, she probably didn't know that he was a nuclear test veteran, so assumed it was sun radiation. So really, basically what she was saying was, his skin has high levels of radiation damage. And so that's going to be in his records somewhere, in his NHS records. So for them to turn around and say, no exposure at all, it cannot be true. It just cannot be. And that's the kind of process I'd follow up, because I'd try and get hold of his, well, my mum could get his NHS records. And then we sort of cross-reference that and say, well, how can he have radiation damage from the sun, a massive amount, and yet nothing from Maralinga? That doesn't work, does it? It's bonkers. And then, obviously, the fourth option was, yes, your dad was exposed to radiation. And that's when we start the, well, A, it's taken you years to tell me. You've lied, you've covered up again. You've caused me stress and trauma. And you need to be held accountable for that. And that's the line that we'll be going down. And it speaks volumes of what the government is like, or the Ministry of Defence is like, that you have to do this. Because there's no transparency. There's no empathy. There's no care. I mean, at the end of the day, my dad was a veteran. And you can see from, other veteran cases. I mean, I heard only this week that somebody I know had been injected with anthrax vaccine 3 times. It's not in his medical records. And he's, not an elderly veteran. He's I guess, Bosnia Gulf War type sort of era. So we're looking at a history of MOD doing stuff like experimental vaccines and things like that, but not putting them in medical records. So that is why we need to crack the nuclear test veterans case and get it exposed that the MOD do this. And hopefully, when we do that, others can follow. You've got the Gulf War syndrome, Gulf War illness. People were given experimental vaccines then. I heard from, like I say, my friend. I think that was the Bosnian conflict, or certainly that sort of area. I know he was there, and so I'm guessing that it was from that. But it could have been Gulf War as well. Either way, it's wrong. It's really wrong. They should be meticulously recording what the soldiers are given, the servicemen are given, and it should be available to them. Because, we have Gulf War illness. It's still not been explained. And there's no willingness to explain it, because if the MOD go to any lengths to help with an explanation, they're going to end up found responsible for it. And that kind of reputational damage is not what the MOD want. We all know that. Certainly I do, and certainly anyone that's tried to get the medical records does. So, Hillsborough Law next year is going to hopefully create... It won't help with things like the medical records, I don't think, because that's written down and it's paper evidence, isn't it? But hopefully it will start a change of culture. And a change of culture is what's needed. Because culturally, this government cover up. And it always has to. The British government, the establishment, the Ministry of Defence, call it what you want, they cover up, save their own skins, keep themselves in a job, and, well, keep us in the dark. That's not right. That's not what they're for. So that's what would happen in the 4 scenarios I'm envisaging. As to where I am at the moment, well, no further on. Still no news, still no medical records. And, well, I will definitely keep you posted on if I get anything. Because, well, I want to. I want to be open and transparent, and hopefully, once I get some success, others may follow. But, yeah, tricky one. Anyway, it is Friday afternoon. I'm waiting for my son to get back from school. And, yeah, that should be a nice weekend with him at home. So I shall bid you all farewell, and thank you for listening. And I will speak to you again next Friday. Okay, see you now. Bye bye.